Go ahead, take a deep breath in, and let it out. Pretty crazy to think about the invisible magic happening right inside your chest, isn't it? Well, welcome to today's Explainer. We are embarking on a really fascinating journey inside the human body to unlock the mechanics of human gas exchange. We're going to see exactly how your body harnesses life-giving oxygen and expels toxic waste, second by second, entirely behind the scenes. To make this incredibly complex system easy to digest, here is our roadmap for today. We'll quickly hit 1. The setup, the big question. 2. The descent, path of a molecule. 3. The pump, mechanics of breathing. 4. The swap, inside the alveoli. 5. The proof, what's in the air. And finally, 6. The pressure, adapting to extremes. Let's jump right in. Section 1. The setup, the big question. Let's dive into this by looking at the sheer, almost unbelievable scale of human breathing. It's something we do without even thinking, but the sheer volume, it's staggering. The magic number here is 6. Every single minute of your life, you are breathing in about 6 liters of air. I mean, just feel your chest rising right now. With every cycle, you're pulling in massive amounts of gas. Just picture 3 massive 2-liter soda bottles full of invisible gas flowing into your chest minute after minute, hour after hour, day after day. That is a lot of air. Which naturally brings us to the big question. Why? Why do we need all that air? Why is this constant, massive intake absolutely crucial for our survival? Well, on a cellular level, you are incredibly demanding. Your cells are constantly, literally starving for oxygen to produce energy. And as a byproduct of making that energy, they create carbon dioxide. If that carbon dioxide builds up, it becomes completely toxic. So you need a massive continuous system to basically dump the toxic waste and pull in the fresh fuel. Moving right along to section 2, the descent, path of a molecule. To really grasp this swap, we need to map the biological highway this air travels down. Okay, imagine you are a single molecule of oxygen that just got inhaled. Your descent kicks off as you rush down the trachea. That's your main windpipe, reinforced by these sturdy cartilage rings. From there, the highway splits into 2 main branches called the bronchi, with one leading into each lung. But it doesn't stop there. You branch off again and again, kind of like a tree, into narrower and narrower tubes called bronchioles. Finally, at the very end of this microscopic maze, you arrive at your destination, the alveoli. These are the tiny, microscopic air sacs where the real magic happens. Section 3. The pump, mechanics of breathing. Now, air doesn't just casually fall down into your lungs on its own. It has to be pulled. And that brings us to the incredible machinery inside your chest. Here's the thing. Your lungs are basically just passive bags. The real engine driving this whole operation is your diaphragm, this thick sheet of muscle at the base of your chest, along with your rib muscles. Put your hands on your sides as you take a breath. During inhalation, your diaphragm contracts and actually pulls downward, while your rib cage expands outward. This creates a low-pressure vacuum and air just rushes in to fill it. Then, during exhalation, the whole process reverses. The diaphragm relaxes and moves back up, the rib cage shrinks, and the air gets squeezed right back out. It's a continuous, perfectly designed biological pump. All right, section 4, the swap, inside the alveoli. Now we've reached the climax of the breathing process. We've pulled the air all the way down into the deepest, most microscopic parts of the lung. To figure out how that gas actually makes it into your blood, we have to talk about a little something called diffusion. Diffusion is simply the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. It's just basic physics. Because you just inhaled a bunch of fresh oxygen, the concentration inside the alveoli is super high. But in the returning, oxygen-starved blood, it's really low. So the oxygen naturally just wants to cross over. And the exact opposite happens with the carbon dioxide waste coming from your cells. Your body maximizes this simple law of physics absolutely beautifully. We don't just have one big lung sac. We have roughly 480 million tiny alveoli. This creates a staggeringly huge surface area to maximize gas diffusion. Plus, the walls of these alveoli are ultra-thin. We're talking literally a single cell thick, so the gases barely have any distance to travel at all. And finally, they are wrapped tightly in a rich blood supply via tiny blood vessels called capillaries. This ensures that oxygenated blood gets whisked away rapidly and deoxygenated blood is constantly delivered. It is seriously a masterpiece of efficient engineering. Section 5, the proof. What's in the air? So how do we actually know this invisible microscopic swap is taking place? Well, let's look at the proof by analyzing the very air we just breathed out. The numbers here are totally fascinating because they prove our metabolism is actively burning fuel. The air you inspire or breathe in is about 21% oxygen, but the air you expire or breathe out drops to about 16%. Think about that. Your body just kept that 5% difference. But the wildest shift is the carbon dioxide. You breathe in just trace amounts, roughly 0.04%, but you exhale roughly 4% carbon dioxide. That is a massive spike, representing all the toxic waste your cells just successfully dumped. Oh, and notice the water vapor. Your exhaled breath is completely saturated with it, which is exactly why you can see your breath on a freezing winter day. We can actually recreate a classic science lab investigation to physically demonstrate this. If you take a straw and bubble your exhaled breath through a clear liquid called lime water, well, what do you think happens? The completely clear lime water very quickly turns cloudy, almost milky. This specific chemical reaction only happens when there's a high presence of carbon dioxide. It is undeniable, visual proof of that invisible exhaust system operating flawlessly inside you with every single breath you let out. Section 6. The pressure. Adapting to extremes. For our final at today, let's go ahead and stress test this beautiful system. How does your respiratory engine respond when the demands on it suddenly skyrocket? Think about what happens when you start exercising really hard. Your muscles suddenly demand way more energy, right? And that creates an immediate oxygen debt. To pay off this debt, your breathing rate can easily double. But you don't just breathe faster, you breathe deeper. And those deeper breaths are absolutely crucial because they forcefully expand more of those 480 million alveoli, maximizing your lung's surface area for peak gas exchange right when you need it the most. Now, what if we change the environment instead of your activity level? What happens to a mountain climber at high altitudes, where the atmospheric pressure drops and the air becomes extremely thin, meaning there's far less oxygen in every single breath? To compensate for that super thin air, your system's only choice is to drastically increase both the rate and depth of your breathing. But here is the really critical, kind of sobering takeaway. This survival mechanism relies entirely on having enough healthy surface area in your lungs to catch whatever sparse oxygen is actually available. If a person's alveoli are damaged, say by smoking, which causes emphysema, their functional surface area is permanently reduced. Down at sea level, they might just feel a bit short of breath. But at high altitude, that hindered ability to take up oxygen isn't just an inconvenience, it becomes a fatal bottleneck. Which leaves us with a pretty profound question to ponder. Considering your lungs tirelessly filter over 8,000 liters of air a day to keep your cells alive, what are you doing to protect the delicate microscopic machinery that makes it all possible? Definitely something to think about the next time you take a deep breath.